Welcome, Yamhill County, to Speaking Frankly. I'm your host, Howie Harkema, and our tagline is, "And how we doin'?" Today I have Dave Rucker, who is the Food Bank Programs and Logistics Coordinator for YCAP. And also he is the Vice President of the Board of Directors of the Yamhill County Historical Society. Welcome, Dave.
Thanks for having me, Howie.
It's great to have you here.
Heck yeah.
How long have we known each other now? I was trying to figure it out.
It's got to be 4 years.
At least.
Yep. That's when I came back to McMinnville, was right around there, and there you were to say hi.
Yeah, and when I was working at the soup kitchen, you used to bring me food.
That's right.
A couple times a week.
Correct.
So we're going to talk about all that stuff.
Good.
So we're going to have a good time here.
Excellent.
So YCAP has seen an uptick in the amount of food going out from the food bank. So how many pounds, and your fiscal year starts July 1st and ends June 30th.
That's right.
So in your fiscal year 2016-17, how many pounds of food went out from YCAP?
Well, we can address in and out. We brought in 2.26 million pounds of food.
Whoa!
Yes, million with an M. A lot of food. The same amount went out, 2.26 million. We are not saving up or storing food for a rainy day here in Yamhill County because for some, this is the rainy day.
Right. The need is so great right now, too. Let's talk about some of the factors that are involved in that. There seems to be a lack of job creation on the West Coast, and especially in a rural county like Yamhill County. Can you talk about that a little bit?
That is right, Howie. When I see people, talk to people in line at our local food sites, soup kitchens, even friends that I have here in town, there is job creation and job growth. You can see those percentages in the paper and on the news. What I'm finding out there and hearing about are people who had one part-time job at minimum wage.
Yes.
Job creation. Now they have the choice to have two part-time jobs at minimum wage.
And they might be getting 40 hours. They might.
Maybe. They may not be, so that they're not getting health care or what have you, or benefits.
Sure.
So it adds up to one almost full-time job at maybe minimum wage, maybe a little bit more, service industry positions quite often. And I mean, even just two people, or think about if you have kids, you're not making it on that amount of money the way even our local economy is trending.
Well, there tends to be a goodly amount of working poor, and that means maybe one of the people in the family has a job. It might be part-time or it might be full-time, but even with that minimum wage position or a little above, you cannot rent an apartment even. A studio apartment usually the average is around $650 a month, and that's without electricity or any food or anything else. You can't make it on that amount of money.
That's right, and I hear that every day, again, from people working with YCAP or our partner agencies and soup kitchens and pantries.
Right.
And again, I have friends who, I mean, what is your choice if you can only get part-time service positions in Yamhill County? Their choices have been to commute to Portland, spending no time with their families. I mean, that takes away from family time.
Exactly.
Or they do have two part-time jobs. Again, they're not at home with kids and family, and they're still working poor. They're still getting food boxes.
That's right. And there's a number of agencies that make sure that they can get that food box.
Oh yes.
Let's talk about the West Valley for a minute. Things are really hurting down there because of the logging and the shutdown of a number of mills and such. What do you see when you go down to Grand Shermina and such?
You know, with some of even more rural areas, if you want to call it that, there are folks out there. You know, we call some of these areas food deserts.
Yes.
Meaning shopping is difficult. Maybe there isn't, in Dayton, there's no grocery store,
Right.
for instance. West Valley has some options, but if you don't have transportation, It makes it really hard to go grocery shopping and plan for the month. It makes it very hard to think about fresh produce,
Yes.
perishables, because that doesn't fit into a monthly food plan when it expires. So we do have Grand Sharamina, a great, great, great emergency food pantry
Yeah.
out in that area.
Right.
So we make sure to get as many truckloads as possible of especially perishable foods out there, and
Yeah.
fruits and vegetables and that sort of thing. And it's just, I mean, they just run a great environment out there. The community comes
It is
together and,
fantastic.
brings a little hope to the community.
Yeah, and that's what people need most of course, is hope. But yes, that food intake is such a need. And with food insecurity being on the uptick, not only in Yamhill County, but throughout Oregon, what kind of estimate forecast do you have for the 2017-18 fiscal year at YCAP for the food bank?
You know, I can go with Yamhill County statistics. Also, we work closely with the Oregon Food Bank.
Right.
And the Operations Committee, and they work with rural communities throughout the state. We do not see those in need and the numbers of those in need going down at all.
Yeah.
We've got a new administration and some new policies that are not going to help with hunger issues.
No.
So that is what we expect, and that's what we're planning for,
Right.
and that's probably what we will see. So we're gearing up for another tough year.
Yeah.
The need will be there, but we also have the greatest staff at YCAP, and part of the reason more food is coming in
Yeah.
is because we have people who are outreaching and looking for those donations, and we have a community outpouring of support for those in need.
Right.
So I wish the number could be 0, but it will probably continue to grow.
Well, when I was working at the soup kitchen, we always hoped it would go down to 0 as well. I was always trying to work myself out of a job, but the bottom line is it's only going up. And so that's an unfortunate situation in our world today.
Yes.
So let's talk about cash donations versus food donations and how YCAP Food Bank needs both.
Yes. If YCAP has been getting our message across, some people may know that cash donations are incredibly valuable to us. We can, through the Oregon Food Bank, purchase just massive pallets of rice and beans and soup for incredibly cheap.
On the dollar, yeah.
Yeah, like 3 cents a pound. I mean, we can feed an incredible amount of people with those cash donations, and it saves resources, and it saves time and transportation and fuel and all of those
Right.
things. So carry on. I hope we've getting that message across. However, I don't want people to think that when you see all of our barrels around, or we're doing a food drive, that that's not an invaluable resource. The kinds of foods that we see in our food drives are not things that are available for purchase through the Oregon Food Bank
Right.
commonly. And we are encouraging everyone, and most folks are doing this around our county, our emergency food sites, doing what's called a shopping pantry. Imagine walking into a room. You might imagine that you're just getting a box of food, and somebody says, "Here you go, best of luck." But no, you walk into one of these, St. Vincent de Paul, for instance, Hope on the Hill, and it's set up like a store.
Right.
It's great. They can actually go through the shelves and shop for themselves. So those monetary donations can get us tons and tons of staple items. But we want people to choose what they need for their family, or
Right.
what they want for their family. I can unload 3,000 pounds of quinoa or brown rice onto a pantry, but if a family doesn't want that food, won't eat that food, if their kids won't eat that food, then I really haven't fed anybody, have I?
Right.
So those food drives that we're running, and everything that one can donate, whether that's macaroni and cheese to ramen, that's something we want on the shelves, so that there can be some dignity in these pantries and they can have that choice.
You do need the higher protein foods, though, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, like tuna and peanut butter and things like
Absolutely.
that are a real staple.
Correct.
Yeah.
Those, anything, I mean, we want to focus on nutrition, but we don't want to tell people
What to eat.
what to eat.
Sure.
These aren't our subordinates. These folks are equal to us.
That's correct.
They're not prisoners, so
Yep.
we'd like to have them have the choice. And again, give them hope
Yeah,
that
exactly.
someone cares.
That's what it's all about. So you do this incredible program at YCAP. It's called Fresh Alliance. Would you talk about that for a moment and what that entails?
It is really incredible. And
It
this
is.
actually happens nationwide.
Yeah.
This is a part of the Feeding America program. It's called Fresh Alliance. It's also called Fresh Rescue, which I like even more,
Ooh, yeah.
that term, because we are literally rescuing food from the landfill.
Yeah.
Almost any given store here in Yamhill County, Safeway, Fred Meyer, your grocery outlets, any major grocery, even some small.
Yeah.
Like even 7-Eleven is part of the Fresh Alliance Fresh Rescue program. Now it takes a lot of work to go into these stores while Coke and Pepsi and Dorito trucks are unloading and unloading,
Sure.
and bring our cart in there and rescue these foods from the garbage.
Right.
This is, for instance, a head of lettuce that maybe has some brown spots around the outside, or a container of strawberries and one of the strawberries is missing a stem.
Sure.
Things that aren't considered marketable by that store. Once upon a time, they really did just throw all that food away. But Feeding America and we at the local food banks, in cooperation, can now go into these stores daily and pick up milk and yogurt and cheese and fresh produce. And it's amazing, because this is not the kind of thing that we can buy from Oregon Food Bank. I certainly wouldn't suggest that anybody put gallons of milk in one of our food drive barrels.
Right.
So it's really an important program. It is our only source for fresh, perishable product.
What about items that are going off shelf date?
Yes, both perishable. These are standards set up by the USDA and FDA. A carton of milk, for instance, has a use by, best by expiration date. There's all different terms for them.
Right.
Those are actually still being all worked out by the FDA. We can use that milk 5 days after its use by date.
And not everybody knows that.
No, so that stuff comes off the shelf, and it's still good for 5 days. Yogurt, 14 days. Cheese, no expiration date.
Right.
It's by sight.
Right.
So,
And even
again,
if it grows a little mold, you can cut the mold off and it's
just
still
gets-
good.
It just gets better.
Yeah.
It's cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, 40,000 pounds a month on average. we're pulling
Whoa,
out of
say
these
that
grocery
again.
stores. 40,000 pounds per month. And that all goes right to our local pantries and right to somebody's table immediately.
Any idea how many stores and markets are involved in Yamhill County?
In Yamhill County, there's 13.
Wow.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely it is.
So you have a number of food trucks at YCAP. One's a cold food truck, and
right.
another is just a regular truck. And so how many trucks do you have?
I'd like to say a number of trucks, but we really just have 3.
Yeah.
We do have a large refrigerated truck, a smaller box truck, and a pickup. But that's kind of the fun part of food bank logistics. I have to make all this work with just those rigs, you know?
And not to talk about volunteers yet, but to talk about you. I see you everywhere. If I'm in Carlton, here comes Dave.
Yep.
If I'm in Newburgh, here comes Dave. If I'm down at Sheridan, here comes Dave. So you're everywhere.
You're right. Yesterday, for instance, was a particularly fun day, and I did get to go everywhere. I went to Dayton grade school and met with a counselor there and one of the volunteers, 2 of the volunteers from the Dayton Food Pantry. We are going to make sure the kids at Dayton grade school who need food for the weekend are going to get food for the weekend. So I drove out there, unloaded a bunch of food, talked to those guys and how can we make this program work, and then off to Newburgh I went to Edwards Elementary to do the same thing. And then off I went to Yamhill Carlton Elementary and worked with those folks and got bags of food to their kids. And then it was off to Washer and Lafayette.
Yeah.
And it was a big part of my day, and it was a blast, but you know, I probably put in, I don't know, 80 miles or something yesterday, but it was great.
Talk about mileage for a minute. So between the 3 trucks, how many miles do you think per year get put on those trucks?
You know, I just looked at that yesterday, and We probably did 130 miles yesterday.
Yeah,
altogether,
just
so-
yesterday, one
yeah,
day.
So 5 days a week,
Yeah.
all year long.
Oh my goodness.
We're not seasonal. This is what we do all day, every day. And when you see me in that truck's booked solid all day long.
Yeah.
You know, that's what it takes to
5 days a week.
2.26, absolutely.
And sometimes 6. Because I
Absolutely.
know when you have food drives, you're involved in that as well.
You bet.
So, how many volunteers in those trucks besides you?
Yep. If we look at just volunteers who are, my main job is get food, find food, pick up food, take food to people in need.
Yep.
So volunteers working just on those efforts alone, I think I counted 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And these are some of I consider them McMinnville All-Stars. I
Yep.
can't name all the names because I'll forget some, but I mean, it's folks like Bruce Waltz and
Yep.
Steve Iverson and Carl Alpin and Mark Trumbo. They do a lot for this community, and they do a heck of a lot for YCAP as well. And they're
Right.
every single Monday. One of them signed up in light clockwork. Every single Monday they come in. I tell them where they're going, and they go out and do it, smiling and happy, and couldn't do it without them. Honestly, it could not happen without them.
So how many volunteers are needed to keep this program going?
Like you said, you see me in that truck everywhere.
Right.
I would love to have a volunteer sitting in that seat.
Yes.
Whilst I go and look for more food, or go to one of our local Fresh Alliance Fresh Rescue stores and get that program working even better. So we do need volunteers in those trucks.
Right.
It's really an enjoyable
Sometimes I
job.
see you alone. That's why I asked this
Absolutely.
question.
Nope. I'd love to have a co-pilot. One needs to be able to drive a truck, which
Right.
isn't that hard, but can be a challenge.
CTL license, CDL, I
Nope.
mean? No? Just
Regular driver's license.
Awesome.
Yep. There's some lifting involved,
Could you bring up the phone number for YCAP just in case they want to call and get involved in this? Thank you.
Absolutely. Ask for me directly.
And you guys also have a Facebook page and a website, so if people want to get a hold of you to become a volunteer,
That's right.
they can also go to those websites and...
There's a volunteer now button right there on the website.
Fantastic. So, is there other categories of volunteerism at YCAP that could be done? I mean, sorting food or such?
There is. We have, sometimes we have individuals come in. My mom, for instance, comes in every single Wednesday and sorts food or makes bags for kids. And groups come in constantly. It is a great team building
Sure.
experience for any business or club to come in
Sure.
and sort food or repack. We had 2,000-pound bins of just raw macaroni that were donated to us, along with little cheese packets. So what do? We're going to make up macaroni and cheese kits.
Sure.
Little curling ribbon on the top, and get a hold of YCAP, go to the website, call us. We can fit in volunteers. They're needed always.
That's fantastic. How do food needs differ in different parts of this county?
Yep. Well, you were just talking about West Valley and
Yeah.
Grand Shermina, for instance. And because I travel all over the county distributing and picking up food, I get to see a lot of the differences. If I go back to the food desert situation, Dayton and no grocery, there's 2 convenience stores in Dayton. Pretty expensive
Yeah.
to buy your apples there.
Right.
So in Dayton, we really like to focus on getting out those perishables and just loading up their tables with potatoes and oranges and onions and apples and pears and cabbage and those sorts of things. Whereas in McMinnville, that certainly is the case that we want to get fresh produce out. But McMinnville, Newburgh, plentiful places to shop. One can budget their month and can get to a store even if transportation isn't always available. So there, maybe we would want to focus more on the fresh rescue stuff, like the cheeses and the yogurts and the milks. They're expensive, hard to plan around something that's going to expire during that month.
Right.
Really, the main thing I look to, and this is why we call it a partnership with somebody like Grand Shermina.
Sure.
I listen to them. I mean, who knows what is going on better in Carlton and what's called YC Storehouse. I mean, these
Right.
folks are running their pantry out of a metal storage box.
Right.
They're working miracles out of this
Yeah.
box. They know there are people that are waiting for food. They know what they need more than I do. So
And
we
in
s-
Amity, is it still at the church?
It is.
Yeah.
It's called Isaiah 58.
Yeah.
So we send out a list to every single one of our partner agencies. There's almost 40 now.
How many are there? 36 or something?
Almost 40. It kind
Yeah.
of fluctuates
Yeah.
in there. There's some smaller organizations that come and go. But we send them out a list of our entire inventory, a shopping list,
Right.
basically. They can check off what they need, what their people need,
Right.
the numbers of cases, the amount of apples, what have you. And we can put that all together on a pallet and ship it out to them. And of course, then there's just different populations, different ethnicities.
Sure.
There's homeless folks and folks that actually are having a sit-down family dinner.
Right.
Those are two distinctly different kinds of food boxes
Sure.
those people are going to get. So we track the numbers of and demographic information.
Right.
So we do the best we can to get everybody what they need, and hopefully they'll have a choice as well.
In Newburgh, it's fish.
Correct. Yep.
And in Dundee, is there one as well?
There is. It's called Promise Pantry.
Yeah,
it's at the
that's it.
Promise Church,
Yeah.
which is at the end of a bypass there, back
Yeah.
in kind of a field. Yeah.
So really, all the townships have some sort of food pantry system.
They do. That's a fact. And they run different hours of operation. Some aren't open. Some, same in St. Paul, they're open every weekday.
Right.
Some are open 2 days a week. Some are open one day for a morning and one day for an evening, so that hopefully everybody will have time to get there. And we're working on keeping people open more days, giving more options. Again, if you have 2 part-time jobs, you're working a lot of,
Right.
you're maybe working 7 days a week.
Right.
And you still need food. So we'd like that to be available.
So that's one of the wonderful things about Hope on the Hills Food Pantry. They have a regular hour day on a Tuesday, and then on Thursday, it's a night
That's exactly
thing
right.
to
Yep.
allow for people that are working to
That's
come in and sort through the pantry and shop. And
That's what we like to see.
so it's fantastic what you guys are doing. So how does YCAP interface with the Oregon Food Bank?
For one thing, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing without the Oregon Food Bank. They're bringing in a semi-truck every single Friday,
Right.
loaded up with upwards of 40,000 pounds of food. I mean, we're talking about 8 to 10 totes of fresh produce, potatoes, onions, apples. We order the food. When people are donating money, we order pallets of food. That comes on that truck.
Right.
How in the world I would be able to drive up there and the truck you've seen me in
Right.
and pick that up? That would be impossible.
Right.
So that's a big part of our 2.26 million pounds.
Yeah. And they deliver that
they deliver
directly
it
to
to us.
YCAP.
Correct. So that's just the tangible, though. This is a food bank network.
Right.
We're trying to work with our whole state here, and to have somebody from the Portland metro area really reaching out to these rural areas,
Yes.
like Yamhill County or anywhere across the state, and ask us what we need or how it's going here, is great. And we see that in all operations through the Oregon Food Bank, because they're looking for our input. We're actually having our statewide Oregon Food Bank conference right here in McMinnville.
Oh, really?
In October.
Awesome.
So yeah, what a resource to have, and their resource being Feed in America, so it's actually a national network.
Right.
So we've got a whole lot of people thinking alike and trying to work together.
Well, collaboration is everything.
Indeed.
It's what makes the world go round and makes things possible. And you talked about hope. That's hope right there. So I only have one more question, and you've got about 3 minutes to answer this. And it's a pretty pertinent question. And it's a personal question. Why do you do this important work in this community? And what have you learned from working at the food bank at YCAP?
Well, I think what I have, if you didn't know this, I was born and raised in McMinnville. That was a long time ago. It did happen. And I think it's more what I was just thinking about this earlier, more what I relearned, probably. and that would be to live in a close-knit community.
Yes.
I went up to Portland and Eugene and Salem and places like that, and I found my niche, and I found small communities. But geez, in Raymondville, I know every single person here now, I think.
Yep.
Just after 3 years.
I understand.
And I think a quarter of them might be my family, because
Yeah.
we've been here a while.
Yeah.
So I've really learned, I don't know if you knew this, but it's not all about me, Howie.
Gee.
Life, that is, yeah. I'm starting to figure that out. So I'm doing a lot of listening. And I haven't found anybody in Yamhill County who says, well, actually, I do want people to suffer from hunger. Everybody wants to help people in hunger.
Sure.
And I really got lucky to get to work at YCAP because I get to work with that full spectrum
Right.
of the whole county. We might disagree on a whole bunch of stuff, but we can all agree on giving hope to somebody who's suffering. That's our Feed Hope campaign
Sure.
at YCAP.
Right.
So that experience and this current experience is really, I think, helping me help others.
Yeah.
And that's why I do this kind of work. I've certainly been in situations that were hopeless. And, if you're not going to hope for the better, if you've lost faith, it's not going to get better.
Right.
So maybe I can't save the world. I thought I could once. If I can give a person hope,
Right.
at least maybe they can save themselves.
Right.
So that's what I try to do.
But
here
you
in
have to
County.
think in the smaller picture for a moment. How many thousands of people have you reached with this food? And what it gave them, it's not just the food. There's more to it than that, by
No,
far.
that's what I hope for. And food is, sometimes I can see it at our emergency food sites. It's just the mechanism to bring people together.
Yes.
When somebody's coming in for a food box, they're probably going to be pretty down. They may be ready to give up. And then some great volunteer at the soup kitchen or
Sure.
Hope on the Hill greets them with a hi and a cookie and some coffee and takes them through the shopping pantry. It can open up a whole new world for them here.
And it can also open up relationships.
Indeed.
And that's what this is all about, I think. It's about community relationships. It's not just about hunger, because we can feed them. We do a great job of it in Yamhill County, of feeding people who are in need. But it's more about relationship than that.
Yeah, that's why we like our Feed Hope campaign. I think that puts it really well.
Yeah. So thank you, Dave Rucker, very much for being on
it's my
today.
pleasure.
It's wonderful to have you, and we will see you out and about in one of your 3 trucks.
Indeed you will.
And hopefully there will be a volunteer next to you.
That's right.
That you're not doing it all by yourself.
That's
So
right.
Thank you very much for being on. And thank you, Yamhill County, for watching today, and for our 131st episode. Very much. Thank you.